Now, Foreign Minister Bob Carr has welcomed that decision by Indonesia's President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono to reduce Schapelle Corby's sentence by 5 years.
In 2005, Schapelle Corby was sentenced to 20 years prison for attempting to import more than 4 kilograms of marijuana into Bali. Professor Tim Lindsey is an Asian law expert from the University of Melbourne, and he joins us now in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
What do you make of some of the reasons that are being given for this reduction in her sentence, including that Indonesian ministers say it's part of a prisoner swap deal?
Well, I think the main point to keep in mind is that this is a decision made entirely at the discretion of the President. He has to consult the Supreme Court, and he's also spoken to his Ministry of Justice, but it's entirely his decision, and he can make it on any grounds, and he's not accountable for it. So exactly what went on in the President's mind, we can't say. But it does represent a shift. In the past, President Yudhoyono has said repeatedly that he would not exercise powers of clemency in favour of convicted drug offenders. He did, in fact, do this 3 years ago for a French hashish smuggler, Michel Blanc, but this is a big step to slice a quarter off a drug offender's sentence. So why he did it, we don't really know. We have heard now from Indonesian authorities, including the Justice Minister, that they see a link here to Australian treatment of Indonesians in Australian jails. But whether that was what led the President to make that decision, we'll probably never know.
Based on your understanding of the bilateral relationship between the two countries, could there be that quid pro quo?
There have been a number of statements made in recent days that have been linking how Australian prisoners in Indonesian jails are dealt to the question of the Indonesian fishermen on people smuggling charges, and the Indonesian Justice Minister has made the link explicit. I think politically it would be pretty unlikely if there wasn't such a link.
How unusual would it be for Schapelle Corby to be paroled and allowed to stay in Indonesia?
That's a complicated question because this is an unusual development. How they deal with an Australian drugs offender who's got a long sentence, who's had a quarter cut off plus remissions, exactly when she would be released and whether she is granted parole is going to be a question for the local authorities. If she gets parole, it would normally be the case that she has to serve that in Indonesia. So it looks like she will come out well ahead of the expiry of her sentence, possibly soon, and then spend an extended time in Indonesia. But again, these are not straightforward matters, and we'll have to wait for the Ministry of Justice to work out exactly where it sees the term as ending and whether they'll grant parole.
There are lots of different reports this morning. Based on what you've seen, what's the earliest, if parole was factored in, that Schapelle Corby could walk out of Corobicon prison?
There are claims that it could be as soon as July, but again, this is just a matter for the Ministry of Justice. It's not straightforward. There are automatic remissions, there are additional remissions that can be granted for good behaviour. Calculating all of those, and as well as the sentence cut, is not straightforward, so we wait and see what happens.
And will this set some kind of precedent for other Australians serving drugs charges in Indonesian jails?
I think that's the big question now, because we have 2 Australians on death row at the moment, Sukumaran and Chan. Both are or will soon be applying for clemency. Until now, their prospects of success were pretty limited given the President's hard stand on drugs and Indonesia's own war on drugs and rapidly escalating drug use in Indonesia, which is a big issue, political issue in Indonesia. And there's been a debate about the death penalty, but this does suggest that the President may be open to a more flexible stand, and also that if the issue of Indonesians in Australian jails is dealt with, then he may be prepared to exercise clemency in favour of those 2 on death row. If not, that's going to be a much more serious bilateral issue than this one.
Tim Lindsey, thank you for your time.
Thank you.